Mr. Speaker, I intend to move the report of the Public Investment Committee on the Special Audit Report on procurement of pre-export verification of conformity standard services for used motor vehicles, mobile equipment and newspapers by the Kenya Bureau of Standards in the following amended form, Mr. Speaker. One, and I will be able to briefly explain these amendments: deletion of recommendation 1, appearing under committee recommendations under chapter 5 on page 63 of the report. B, deletion of recommendation 2, appearing under committee recommendations under chapter 5 on page 62 of the report, and substituting thereof the following: in line with the recommendation of the Auditor General in the Special Audit Report dated 10th July 2018, KEBS due diligence report tender on tender number KEBS/T057/2014-2015 and the findings of this committee, the Public Procurement Regulatory Board, pursuant to Section 41 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act number 33 of 2015 and Regulation number 22 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Regulation 2020, immediately commences debarment proceedings against Messrs. EAA and Messrs. ATJ for violating the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act in the adjudication of the tender number KEBS/2019-2017/2020 and EAA in tender number KEBS/2057/2014-2015. C, Mr. Speaker, deletion of recommendation 5, appearing under committee recommendations under chapter 5 on page 62 of the report, and substituting thereof the following year recommendation: the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission investigates the circumstances under which KEBS entered into a contract with Messrs. EAA Company Limited and Auto Terminal Japan and submit its finding hereon to the National Assembly within 60 days of adoption of this report. Mr. Speaker, it is important that I do brief the House the reason and intention of this particular one, Mr. Speaker, is the deletion of recommendation 1. When we had tabled this particular report, Mr. Speaker, protect me please from my own members. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, when we tabled this committee, recommendations regarding debarring had not been done by the CS of Finance, and therefore the regulations actually had not been gazetted, and therefore there was a need for us to include the regulations to be gazetted ASAP, considering that the same has been done. And Mr. Speaker, you will recall very, very recently in your own rulings that there was a committee that had done a report, and you were quite clear on this matter, that committee reports need to be very, very specific. And it is for that reason, Mr. Speaker, that B, we deleted 2, and we now made it very clear, because the previous one was talking about upon the gazettement of those regulations. But now that the regulations have already been gazetted, we've listed out what needs to be done in a more direct manner. And thirdly, Mr. Speaker, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate the circumstances under which KEBS entered into a contract with EAA and Auto Terminal and submit its finding hereon to the National Assembly within 60 days of adoption of this report. Again, Mr. Speaker, this was through your guidance when you indicated and informed us rightfully that we need to be very, very specific if it is an ethics and anti-corruption matter, or it is a matter, Mr. Speaker, that involves the DCI. And equally, I think it was going to be very, very prudent for us to be able to put that particular timeline, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, in moving this particular report, and I know...
Have you indicated that you are moving it in,
yes,
in an amended form?
Yes, I have, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, because that is important.
I did, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I want to move this particular, and I re-emphasize again that we are moving this in an amended form. Amendments were very, very minor, but they were important considering the ruling that you had made on the same. Mr. Speaker, I want to give members a gist of exactly what has transpired. For those who probably were not aware, due to public interest that this has been able to receive, this committee did the right thing. We actually tabled a status report, Mr. Speaker. And the progress report was tabled, approved by yourself, on 27th of February 2020. And in this report, we were very, very categorical on the issues that we are seeing. We were very, very categorical on what it is that is going on. We were very categorical on every single warning based on the standing orders that give the Public Investment Committee the powers to look at state corporations are run in the right business prudence. And Mr. Speaker, let us not even dwell into anything else. I want my colleagues to be able to hear me and appreciate what it is that was entailed in doing this report. Mr. Speaker, I remember one of the first things that triggered this is when the CEO misled this committee. He sat, and I remember at that time, the current chair of finance asked a simple question. You are looking at bringing in other players in this industry. And he said, this is not a tender, it is a pre-qualification. Honorable Gladys Wanga will bear me witness on those words. And other members here, Mr. Speaker, realized things that the Auditor General had actually said, that there was documentation that was fake by the said companies. Documents, Mr. Speaker, that if I start getting into the nitty-gritties and details, I will not be able to finish every single one. But we've documented all these matters. We've been able to explain. Mr. Speaker, we did not even stop there. We asked, have you been able to seek the concurrence and advice of the Attorney General of this country? Not once, not twice, not thrice. And we saw a situation, Mr. Speaker, that things were going haywire when Parliament was summoned into court by stakeholders regarding the same matter, Mr. Speaker. And we said this matter has a danger. Did you seek concurrence of the AG? AG's concurrence was done after every mishap has already happened. And I want to read what the Attorney General of this country says, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General says it is unfortunate that KEBS forwarded draft addenda to the contracts to this office for review and legal clearance without disclosing that there was a fresh tender for enlargement of services. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General of this country, who is the chief legal advisor of the executive, and we are the ones who pass the same laws, that it is important for these state corporations to seek legal advice from the Attorney General. Further goes ahead and says, from the letter dated 21st February 2020, it is noted that the tender process for the enlargement of service was challenged at the PPARB. And through a petition filed in the High Court, this is something that KEBS did not give that information to the AG. Mr. Speaker, KEBS was summoned by the Public Investment Committee, and they were asked to answer questions and give guidance to this office. This is something that KEBS did not do as well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am seeing time is not on my side, but to round it all up, Mr. Speaker, forget about the words of the Attorney General. Forget about the words of members of Parliament. Forget about even the words of those who came and misled this committee. I want you, members, to be able to listen to the words of Kenya Bureau of Standards itself in their report, in their own report, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute, 1 minute. Sorry, I'm the one with the discretion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a document. It is an official document tabled in the House. It forms part of this report. This is a document from Kenya Bureau of Standards. Not ourselves. Mr. Speaker, what this report says is that the due diligence team recommends that KEBS enter into a contract with so-and-so. That team also found that EAA lacks the requisite infrastructure in the UK and UAE. In addition, presented forged and falsified documents in their tender bidding, which enable to erroneously attain minimal technical score for advancement of financial evaluation. Now, don't listen to me. Don't listen to the Attorney General. Don't listen to all the witnesses who misled every single person. Listen to themselves. The Kenya Bureau of Standards themselves are affirming that an illegality